Hello, 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 hello. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, guys. Good evening, Vaishnavi. Nice, nice. Chalo, chalo, guys, chalo. The time right now is 9:30 p.m. and yes, we are here again for our second day. Yes, it is our second day of the IT workshop, and today we are going to close it pretty nice and clean, everybody. Okay, so just be along, take some notes about it. The recording will be available. Watch through it, collect as maximum data as possible, and make the most of it. So, hello, Sagar. Hello, Alok. Hello, Pavan. Nice, nice, nice. Chalo guys, start pouring in. Time is critical. The time right now is 9:31 p.m. and yes, we are heading into our second day of the IT workshop. Great to see you guys. Full pumped up in energy. Let's make the most of the time that we have, everyone. Yes, 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 yes. There is a person with the name forgot password. Hello. Nice. Okay. Good evening, team. Chalo. So let's get started, everybody in the house. Okay. Let's get started. So guys, as part of the yesterday session, okay, as part of the yesterday session, we were focusing about some of the key entry level process that we were having. Okay, the key entry level process that we were having, by which you can really make nice into the IT industry, where we came across some of the terms, so you can really brush up with that. And if you are a fresher, knowing all these things will make you prepared to get into the industry nicely. And if you are having experience with that also, it will carry a huge value, because you will know what to do, when to do, and what is the right way of doing something, guys, which I have learned over a period of my past 10 years. So I was not knowing all these things. Nobody taught me these things. It comes with experience, with seeing, with experimenting, and all those things. I'm trying to share it with you people. Whatever you are able to make some sense, okay, whatever you are able to make some sense, convert it into results and make the most of it, everybody. Okay. Okay, guys. So then we reached out to few points, like first the product owner is going to be there, right? Remembering some terminologies: client specifying the requirements to the product owner understanding the requirements, then he uses a tool called as Jira. He writes the requirements there, then it would be given to the tech team, the technical team, and these guys are first step supposed to read the ticket. Step number 2, understand the ticket properly. Step number 3, ask for call to be set up with the product owner, understand it more. If there are questions, get it clarified. That is the first step. Once this work is done, everybody, your manager, your product owner, they will start asking, tell me the timeline, how much time will it take, because we have given you the requirement. You should not straight away tell the time. You should go to the second part, which is design and approach finalization. Okay. So guys, simple stuff. You need to think of how do you want to solve the problem. Okay, google it, think about your own logical sense. How do you solve the problem, guys? Dekho, one very common basic thing, which many people don't get. Okay, those who are particularly, they have not exposed to real time work experience, they really get confused on this one particular aspect, which says, what exactly is a functional requirement, or in the industry what kind of projects will be there. I don't have real time exposure, so how can I think of use cases, right? This confusion will be there for many people, right? You would be like, okay, we are attending classes, but there are like only basic, simple, like, okay, login, this, that, only the basic technical stuff there, but we are not understanding functionally how to build applications. Okay, guys, dekho, it's very simple. देखो, application building is not any rocket science. You need to understand, it is not any rocket science at all. whatever website whatever website that you see in the current world, everything is a real time project. whatever website it is already hosted in production. Somebody has coded it, and that's where you are able to see that. One by one you need to actually just take any of the website of your choice, and then just go ahead to understand the requirements. Okay, for example, it could be many ways, right? People, ki OTP based login, that could be one requirement. So the simple requirements will just be given, like, okay, when trying to log in, username password provided, don't directly log into the application. There should be a OTP functionality, one time password functionality, that you get a message on your phone and then you pass the OTP digit. Guys, even if this is the requirement, it is going to get complicated, yes or no? Right? Okay, the requirement which is provided to you is the user passes username and password. We want the OTP functionality to be integrated. Nothing but a 6 digit number has to be generated, that has to be provided to his reserved contact number, his phone number, and then he passes that phone number based code, and then you verify whether that code is valid, and then you log in him to the application. This is a functional requirement. Yeah, this is how the functional requirements will come. Now you have to think, how do you solve it? Okay, first of all, what should be the logic of generating that 6 digit number? Second, what should be the logic by which you would send a message to the mobile phone? Are there paid services for that? Are there free services for that? Next, whenever he's passing this number, how do you validate that he's passing his own number and not any other OTP code? Two people might be trying to log in at the same time, right? So his code might be generated, his code. How do you re-authenticate all these things? Now that itself becomes a functional requirement. Okay, that's for guys, simple stuff. You do one thing today, any website which you are using very frequently today, just go ahead, sit, explore about that functionality from there. Okay, just understand it, try to think deeper about it, कि क्या क्या हो रहा है. Okay, for example, Facebook, if you are using a simple stuff, guys, Facebook में क्या करते हैं? You just go, you put a post. Okay, you put a post. Now there is a logic. This post should be seen to who people, right? That logic is inbuilt. Now it's not magic, right? It is like, okay, this person is having so many friends. Okay, he is doing a public or only friends. Based on that logic, you need to see which are the friends available for this person. You need to, from that friend list, you need to scan some of the friends. And what might be the logic? The people who are more highly interactive with that person, find out those people, and then whatever is their Facebook, whenever they log in, publish this feed there. These are nothing but the project requirements. This is what is real time work. Okay, so guys, don't think real time is like something which you would not be able to understand. Simple, whatever you know technically, whatever you are learning in your courses, classes, anywhere, you need to sit, you need to pick any one website, guys. Pick some website which is having some functionality which you are using on a day to day basis. Doesn't matter what it is, just pick one website. It could be Facebook, it could be WhatsApp, it could be WhatsApp is an application, but उसको मतलब एक web application लो guys. Take a web application properly, ठीक है? So Facebook ले लो, Instagram ले लो, LinkedIn ले लो, ठीक है? Anything is fine. Or pick any bank which you are using for money transfer. Okay, net banking वाला feature. So anything which you use, or any shopping related website like Amazon, just pick any one feature, any one website. From that website, start thinking about use cases, like what is happening in that website, and then ask a question: how do I build this up using your technical knowledge? That's it, guys. You need to ask yourself right questions. You will realize the brain will start working, and then you will start actually coming and thinking logically. Acha, now ye can happen. Now guys, the very important thing is you're trying to find all the solutions by asking to other people. You tell me, you tell me, you tell me. Guys, thoda sa initiation, change it around. Like, you go and you find, it's all available on internet. I am giving this approach simple: pick one website, identify all the use cases, main use cases, like pick 2 3 use cases, and then start thinking how will you technically code the application. Okay, now, okay, this is how it is. How will you technically code the application? Once you are able to do that, that comes as part of your approach. And it will come only when you think. There is nothing like one fixed approach, guys. There is nothing like one fixed approach. Every requirement, n number of ways of doing it. Okay, that is where you need to really understand these pieces. Okay, guys, I'm not going to take any questions today. Okay, I'm not going to take any questions today. We just need to stick with the flow. We might conduct a separate session for the Q&A. Basically it deviates the main topic of the session otherwise. Okay, so we are not going to take questions. You can later write it to me. I'll give a link where you post it. We'll conduct a separate session for FAQs. Fine. Okay, so yeah, so this is what it is. So by that way, guys, abhi kya ban gaya? Requirements are there. Login, OTP, code generation, sending it to the mobile. When he's passing that, getting it is complicating further. 5 seconds mein the code should be invalid. Next, 3 times invalid code, you should lock the account. Now use cases will keep adding to the same simple flow, and that is what is the real time project. It is not some very rocket science. It's like what you use in a day to day basis. How do you code it technically? You need to get that level of maturity. If you start thinking like that, na, the brain will start working, and then you will be like, okay, I should do it like this. That approach will come to you. And once that approach is coming to you, people, then you need to take that approach and then go to your maybe seniors who is going to do your code review and ask him, hey, I'm thinking like this, is it correct, or do you have some suggestions? Talk to few people, and then you'll get some guidance there, and then improvise on the solution, and then you would know what exactly to build. That is nothing but approach finalization, guys. Without approach fine, if you are beginner, basically if you are junior, 0 to 2 years of experience, people, I am telling you, without finalizing the approach, don't code it, because your work might be wrong and it might later on have to be reworked again. You will waste your time, basically. So approach finalization is very important at a junior level. Okay, very important stuff. Now second, guys, thoda sa abhi ye socho, what about the design of the application? ठीक है, guys, one thing you need to understand, developing a project in college is different. Okay, developing a project in IT industry is different, or whatever your training is different, IT industry is different. Okay, guys, when you write a code in the IT industry, always have this mindset with you, that the code which I am writing right now, somebody else is going to maintain that code in future. This is the right question. The code which I am writing right now, somebody else is going to read it later, make some modifications later, and the code will enhance over a period of time. Somebody else who might never interact with you, but your code itself should be self explanatory so that that person can work with your application. If you can justify this single statement, you will become a best developer, guys. मतलब खुद के लिए don't code it. Think that somebody else is going to come, visit your code, make some modification, because the requirements will keep enhancing over a period of time, and that is the statement. Abhi, how to solve this statement? There are multiple points to this, guys. Okay, how to solve this statement? There are multiple points to this. First point comes here. Ki, okay, you cannot write one bada sa method with a lot of code in the same method. That simply means you don't have any real time working experience. That's a college, that's a child mentality. एक class ले लेंगे, एक method ले लेंगे, writing the entire code, even though functionally possible, you should not do that. ठीक है, the code cannot be bulk put into one method. You need to think and break the entire method into small methods. Okay, small logical pieces ho jayega. Okay, rather than writing everything, like, okay, writing a query which goes to the database, pulls up the data, does some processing, puts it into a collection, and then returns the value back. Rather than doing all that, it can be done, functionally possible to achieve, but it is not the IT way. IT way will say, okay, there has to be a separate method which actually connects to the database and gives a connection, and using that connection, so that method will give only connection. Once the connection comes to you, using the connection, you make a database call that will be happening in a different method. That, so guys, clear core code. Okay, write another method which actually goes to the database, gives the value back, and then maybe processes from database query result into some Java object, and then this Java object will be given back, and then there is a separate method. How do you process this object? And then How do you process? Maybe list aa raha hai, map aa raha hai, and from there whatever logic could be, right? And then process that and then return the response. By that way, the single method, you're breaking it into subsections, and that's how is the right way of building code. Okay, you cannot write everything at the same time. So now onwards, whenever you're trying to build application, don't try to just complete it from functionality perspective. All the people, even freshers, I'm telling you, right from day one in your industry, this fresher mindset will no longer be tolerated. People will guide you, people will give you, but you should already know what is expected from you people. Now what do? Simply after this session, go ahead and just google some standards of writing code in whatever programming language you are, like best standards for writing java code, best standards for writing UI code, best standards for something something technology, Python, wah. Whatever code comes through, those will be some defined standards. There you will find all these things which I am telling. Okay, guys, understand, IT industry is not a new industry. It is 20 years old industry, 25 years old industry, even more than that. People have made a lot of mistakes, they have understood it, they have summarized it, and they have shared it into free blogs. YouTube mein jao, google karo, you will find somebody telling you techniques of how to write standard code in the IT industry. I'm just giving few guidance to you people. You explore it and you make the most of it people. Okay, फाइन. एक ये हो गया, दूसरा इंडेंटेशन. ओके, डोंट लाइक मेंटेन सम क्लैरिटी, लाइक राइटिंग कोड इज ब्यूटिफाई योर कोड. मतलब देख के ऐसा डर नहीं लगना चाहिए. मतलब मेंटेन सम लाइन स्पेसेस इन बिटवीन. लॉजिकली 2-3 स्टेटमेंट्स आर डूइंग वन एक्टिविटी, गिव अ एंटर, देन सम अदर एक्टिविटी, नेक्स्ट इंडेंटेशन. ओके, वेयर द कर्ली ब्रेसेस एंड्स एंड ऑल दैट. Beautify your code nicely. Okay, so that is another aspect. Next, naming convention. What should be the method name, class name, variable name? Very important things. Okay, do that. Now guys, now understand this thing. Working in layers, that is very important stuff in the IT industry, guys. Working in layers, nothing but guys, there are primarily, let me already tell you people, थोड़े लोगों को bouncer जाएगा, but at least some thoughts will trigger inside your mind. There are some primary layers which will be there, and maybe as part of your MVC pattern you would already know it. Okay, but there are few things you need to just understand. First is your controller, which is nothing but entry. Every request coming from the front end will fall. I'm talking from the server perspective, regardless of technology. It can be Java, .NET, Python, doesn't matter. The layers are generic. Okay, okay, the layers are generic. So server वालों के लिए I'm just telling this, a request coming will be first taken and received at the controller side. Once you have received it at the controller, कंट्रोलर में गाइस लॉजिक नहीं होता है. कंट्रोलर में लॉजिक नहीं होता है. ओके, कंट्रोलर का काम है कि जस्ट रीडायरेक्ट इट, इनकम आउटकम. जनरली पीपल राइट ओनली दैट रीडायरेक्शन लॉजिक और बेसिक क्विक ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन. रिक्वेस्ट एससीआई, मेक इट इनटू अ प्रोसेसेबल मैनर एंड गिव इट फर्दर. कंट्रोलर इज ओनली फॉर दैट पर्पस. इट डजंट हैव एनी लॉजिक. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट इट गोज टू द सर्विस लेयर. सर्विस लेयर में यू राइट द कोड. ओके, कुछ होगा क्लास नेम, ये वो सर्विस लेयर. ओके, नाउ मे बी फॉर योर functionality which you are writing, there might be multiple service classes. So name it properly, write it. So there would be a set of service classes, not one class, guys. ऐसे मत करो कि एक क्लास ही बना दिए सर्विस, उसमें लिखे जा रहे हो, लिखे जा रहे हो, लिखे जा रहे हो. It doesn't matter. वैसे नहीं होता है. ठीक है, you need to write maybe some different logically group it into different service classes. Okay, like OTP service, this class is going to have all methods which deals with only the OTP functionality. उसमें बाकी कुछ भी नहीं डालना. It's only a OTP service class. Okay, which was used at login. There is a different class called as login service. There is a different class called as OTP service. There might be a different class called as email service. बना सकते हैं, राइट? इफ यू थिंक मे बी SMS सर्विस. या तो OTP जनरेशन के लिए देयर इज अ डिफरेंट सर्विस क्लास क्रिएटेड हैविंग 2-3 मेथड्स ऑफ जनरेट रैंडम OTP नंबर. So it is generating a random number, and maybe some more methods like assign this number to so and so person. वो सारा logic will be grouped together as part of OTP service, guys. Maybe you might not be able to connect with all that, but just understand this is how logically you should think. It comes with experience, but at least make an effort to think in a direction ki acha, I should not write everything in the same class. Means how do I split up the classes, how do I make it more understandable, because you are trying to write a code which will be understood by somebody else, not by you. Okay, so maybe OTP service एक बन जाएगा, having all the OTP related methods. There is a SMS service which is going to work like, okay, connecting to the phone number and then just dropping a message to that. Lightweight service बन रहे, maybe only 2 methods available, 3 methods available, fine, but it is a separate logical component. Okay, login service is different component, तो ऐसे 3 layer बन गए. So all this is combination of classes belong as part of the service layer, not just one class. Okay, so MVC public आती है, ये controller, ये service, ये DO, वैसे नहीं होता है. There is a cluster of service. Sometimes what happens is there is service helper class. This is another terminology, service helper class. Nothing but it is not the primary service class, but it is a helper to that, a support service. Okay, because you don't want to really mess up your core nature of a service, so people define, okay, can we like कुछ और class का नाम देते हैं, what do we say? People have adapted to a terminology service helper. In that there would be some helper methods which will be used for the service of. Now you'll be like, kya hai helper method, kya hai? Don't get into those details, but just understand, if it is over complicating a service, people write some helpers separately. Okay, next important, there will be something called as utility classes. This is important again, utility classes, nothing but some of the very common applications which would be done in your entire project. Okay, maybe like generating a random number, or maybe generating a unique sequence of something. Okay, or date format processing. These are some of the common methods which could be used across the entire system multiple times by many people. Nothing but utility methods might be available. Now all of that cannot be written in all the code at every place. एक नया class बन जाता है, some utility. Okay, some utility, उसमें ये सारा methods चला जाएगा. Next, there is a constant class. Generally people write all these constant class, guys, very bad to hard code in the code itself. For example, never write like, okay, simple requirement again, OTP की बात करते हैं. If 3 times OTP is failing, then block the user. This is a requirement. Okay, simple, what you can write, if the OTP failed counter is equal to 3, then call a method, and वो method में रहेगा block the user functionality. So this is how you're writing one layer here, and usme there is another method created, block user, and that method will be called, if you can write it, if the OTP failed count is equal to 3, then block it. Right? Functionality chalegi. But guys, this is not an IT way of doing it. Kya hoga? 3 will be mixed up. What is 3? What is 3? In future, if somebody else is reading, ye 3 kahan se aaya? It becomes a problem. That's where constants defining is a standard. It is mandatory. You should never, like, writing this 3 in the code is a bad practice. It's like hard coding the system. You should never do that. Write a separate constant class, public static final variable, separate class में जाएगा जहाँ पे you define. Okay, max OTP attempt. Naming is very important. Max underscore OTP underscore attempt is equal to 3, and in your code you have to use that constant. Make this as your regular working style. Not even, guys, for time pass code also you should not hard code. मतलब इतना this standard should get into your blood कि you're not even messing it up. ठीक है, simple फंडा होता है. People make mistakes because even if you don't write it, code तो चलेगा, but it's not good code. It's not maintainable code, guys. Think about long term. That's what shows maturity and professionalism. Maybe as a fresher these things might not be straight away expected, but with time, if you think in this direction, you will create a very great remark in front of your leads, because even IT working people will not be thinking in the junior levels. Okay, so I want you people to think deep. Fine, so हो गया ये वाली चीज है. Fine, so these are some basic. फिर DAO layer बनता है, जाके database से बात करो, blah blah blah, get the work done. So this is how you have to design the application. Okay, now whatever designing, even this design, देखो, as a junior level people will not directly give you कि भाई design कर ले पूरा system. Practical है क्या? People ना unnecessary यहाँ पे टेंशन में आ जाते, और ये फ्रेशर है, मेरे को डिजाइन करने नहीं आता. अरे यार, तू फ्रेशर है, देखो कौन देगा डिजाइन करने? इट्स नॉट पॉसिबल. व्हाई वुड आई गिव यू टू डिजाइन? Like, do I want to risk my system? You are new to the industry. I will give the designing responsibility to some senior person, at least having 4 years experience, 5 years experience, somebody responsible. Some projects may even 3 years experience people give get chance. 2 years experience people, if you are capable, you should try to do that. Junior level pe generally don't get it. But if you're claiming even 2 years, I would like that you people jump into the designing aspect and then think about all these things. But freshers से generally नहीं होता है ये सारी चीजें. People will give you thoughts कि ऐसे सोचो and try to come up. That will create a very positive remark on you. But if you're 2 years of experience or more than that, then designing should be in your thought process. Guys, the next level of designing is design patterns. The next level of designing is design patterns, guys. यहाँ पे ना guys देखो अभी क्या हो रहा था, while you were designing, important thing guys, oops becomes very critical. Public ना theoretical oops आता है. In the interview people talk theoretical oops, object overloading, overriding. Practically they cannot code, define classes, methods, following oops. If we give you a project, उसको ना oops में convert करने नहीं आता. Nothing, but I just gave like few examples, right? Okay, OTP service bana lo, email service or SMS service bana lo, login service is separate. People are not able to break down the code like that. That means you have only bookish knowledge of oops. If you are claiming some experience, ye sense of maturity chahiye. What should be my class, what should be my methods, what should be private, what should be public? This practical sense will be required if you are claiming some experience. That means it comes with experience only. From freshers, chalega chalega, basic aata hai chalega, that's fine. But with experience, 2 years also guys, these things are very important. तो थोड़ा सोचो इसके बारे. Okay, oops should be from practical implementation perspective. Now you can just google this thing out, how to build up a oops application from like, oops is what guys? Classes, methods, okay, usability, right? That's what is oops. Overload कब करना है, parent child relation when it should happen, abstraction कब रहेगा, what parameters should be publicly exposed, what should be privately exposed, what should be protected in nature. Ability to make decisions while building application using oops principle is actually expected from experience, guys, not the theoretical explanation of what is overloading, what is overriding. Understand? At least 3 years plus people understand कि what we want. जूनियर से चल जाएगा, चलो 2 years को भी I'll consider at times कि नहीं मिला, I will understand maybe the past project did not train him for all this. But if you are 3 plus 4 हो रहा है तो वो तो ब्लंडर हो गया. 3 के बाद होना चाहिए. विथ 2 ऑल्सो आई वांट यू टू डू, बट थोड़े प्रोजेक्ट में बोलेंगे ठीक है यार नहीं मिला प्रोजेक्ट में सीखने को, दैट्स व्हाई द सिचुएशन इज लाइक दिस, व्हिच इज फाइन. ओके, अंडरस्टैंड, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग्स. नाउ मूविंग ऑन फर्दर, once this decision making is happening, तब डिजाइन हो जाएगा, तब अप्रोच हो जाएगा. नाउ यू नो कि क्या करना है गाइज. एंड व्हाट आई एम सेइंग, अभी तक कोडिंग शुरू नहीं हुआ है. You have not even started coding. You're thinking how services should be, how the utilities should be. थोड़ा सा high level पे you are putting a structure, you or your seniors. फिर वो considering, and then considering your approach, then you should be like, okay, I will take this much time for this task. अब जाके estimation given, because now you are clear in what needs to be done. Now once you are done, अभी आगे की जर्नी शुरू होती है. डेवलपर, QA, both UI developer, server developer, QA. Guys, technology kuch bhi ho, the basic process remains same. Okay, now the thing is different companies might apply these principles to a different aspects, but I will today tell you the right way of building an application. And if what I am going to talk in the next coming 15 minutes, if you apply this simple principle for next 10 years of your project experience, you will get massive results. Next 10 years tak, this is the ideal way of doing things. Many projects may this doesn't work like this, people don't apply it because of whatever factors. But if you really understand what I'm going to tell you people in the next coming 15 minutes, you should always try to implement that in your project, and that will make you a great developer in whatever you do. Okay, fine, now let's understand these things. I will even, I think some of the people will be okay, uh, some of the people will be UI, some of the people will be server, and some might be like random guys. Okay, so some of you, can you just type in comment like UI people type UI, server type server, QA types QA. Okay, एक बार थोड़ा सा guys just type it out so I'll just know के कितना ज्यादा crowd कहाँ का है, accordingly will fit, but I'll try to justify all. Okay, Ashish server, just guys, just UI server QA, just type these things so I can see like where to focus more value. Okay, back to back servers are coming, guys. So this is a server world, I guess. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, guys, लॉकडाउन में आई लर्न हाउ टू डू हेयर कट मैन. लॉकडाउन का कुछ अच्छा हुआ है ना, तो आई गॉट के घर में बाल कैसे काटना है. So I did this. It's better than yesterday. You might be seeing. Fish man, everybody server and full stack. Now that is massive. Okay, everybody server and full stack. UI की public है ही नहीं. This world is dominated by the server. Okay, there are few QAs. Okay, fine. समझ गया, समझ गया. ठीक है. So there are many people on the server side. So I will try to focus more on the server and the full stack nature. I'll try to focus on both of them. ठीक है. Yes, 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 yes. चलो, let's start then. ठीक है. I'll give just few inputs on the UI world, because from the intention of becoming a full stack. Okay, because of the intention of becoming a full stack, मैं वैसे वाला input देता हूँ. First things, before getting into the roles of the UI server. Okay, हाँ बस हो गया भाई लोग, समझ गया. Thank you. Okay, thank you everybody. Now let's understand. ठीक है. uh, Firstly, when I conduct an interview, if a person comes to me and says I am a full stack, you know what impression I got based on whatever past experience I was having? That means he's average in everything. Okay, because when people claim that they are full stack, they are not good in anything, they are average in everything. थोड़ा सा UI आता है, थोड़ा सा सर्वर आता है, थोड़ा सा डेटाबेस आता है. And that's a blunder, guys. If you are average in everything, how do I use you? सब थोड़ा थोड़ा करोगे. Where is expertise in something? That is missing. So if you call yourself as a full stack, let me tell you, you cannot be average in something. You need to really define what's your primary nature of thing. Is it a UI or a server or a database? Be excellent in that first. Once you are excellent in that, then you learn the other thing. उसमें 70% will do, but एक में 95% 100% excellence चाहिए. That is required. Okay, so if you are into this world, understand that is required. When you claim yourself full stack, first fix what is your primary skill, because in the interview, like, I don't know how others people will do, but this is my way, right? You think logical. If you say I'm expert in server but I can do UI also, I'm like 60% independent UI coder, I would love to hire you. But if you say like, yeah, I'm a full stack, I can code in this also, that also, but when I ask what you are very good at, people say like, नहीं नहीं दोनों में वैसे ही है, I'm good in both. That means you're not good in anything. For being good in both, you need to be really great. But once we start asking you questions, it comes outside, and then you are like, नहीं नहीं इतना ही आता है. अरे styling, I don't know much of styling, so then why do you call yourself a UI person? Are you just HTML guy, or are you just a JavaScript guy or Angular guy? Horrible, right? If you say UI, I love dogs are barking, everybody. Okay, एक second. Okay, fine. एक second, guys. Let me just shut down. Just turn this door off. Okay, guys. ठीक है, चलो. Let's start. Let's start. फटाफट फटाफट, guys. We are running short of time. Half an hour done. We need to really. This is important thing. Whatever we are talking. ठीक है. So, guys, calling yourself full stack. Okay. Calling yourself full stack to first get a primary skill. Be really good in that. बाद में जाके focus on the other areas. Even if you are 60 to 70% in other area, that is okay. But one primary may be an expert. Then only call yourself full stack. Otherwise, it will create problem for you. Because I would not like to hire average in everything. Maybe some projects might need, okay, average hai chal jayega, we have other experts. It depends on situation to situation, but ideally be a good in one that's good for your career. That's where I'm suggesting. Fine, now let's get started with the other aspects of the things. Okay, now what is going to happen once the design is done? Okay, once the design is done, once the approach is finalized, People are supposed to code. Okay, now this is where now I will be connecting the tools which you would use. Okay, step number one, some of you might have heard about code repositories. Yes, svn or bitbucket or git, all these are code repositories, yes or no, where the code is managed. Every it project will have a code repository mandatory. Without code repositories, projects will never happen. If you are experienced, you should be really good in code repositories. Lot of benefits are there. Version control, who is committing, who is modifying, reverting some code, lot of benefits are there. Okay, so yeah, code repository is mandatory. Okay, second, working in it means always using an IDE. Be it you are a fresher, be it whoever you are, it's always using an IDE. Now, important point to be noted, IDE has beautiful shortcuts. Beautiful shortcuts, life बहुत easy हो जाएगी. Opening a class, opening a method, okay, these things are very easy. Finding anything is very easy in an IDE. Google about it, the shortcuts of using IDE. And not just guys theoretical nahi, whenever you code going forward for your practice or whatever, use IDE shortcuts. बहुत अच्छे है guys. Okay, your life will be saved like anything. I was not knowing it when I got into the industry ना. I was like, okay, इतना बड़ा कोड है, कहाँ ढूंढूं, कैसे ढूंढूं? Then I saw people using the shortcuts, and I was like, fish man, this is so beautiful, right? It was good. So spend some time in figuring out shortcuts, but not just remembering it, implementing it. ठीक है, make a habit. It should automatically, your fingers should type that. Okay, this alt O, alt I, blah 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 blah. ठीक है, IDE. So now what is going to happen is some of the senior person of the project. Okay, if you're writing a new service, some of the senior person of the project, okay, some of the senior person of the project is going to first create the project from scratch. While creating the project guys, usme maven dependencies or gradle dependencies, you might be knowing about build tools, right? If you're a Java person, you know about build tools, and that work will be done only once, yes or no? It's not required everybody plugs it in, right? So as part of that core dependencies, if you're using spring, so spring dependencies will be added in the maven file. If you're using anything else, wo pura ek bundle banega. Yeah, maven or gradle or anything else. Okay, so any tool you use, that bundle, first wrapper empty project will be created with some primary classes. Maybe some wrapper just empty controllers, some basic services, but with this build model, and they will just see, okay, you can build the application, and in the end var file or the jar file is being generated. वो पूरा का पूरा thing will happen, and one person is going to do that. That would be some senior person, generally juniors को नहीं देते. So don't get under too much pressure. But if you're saying 2 years, 3 years, you might get that opportunity. 0 to 2 ko chances kam rehte hai. If you work in startups, even with 1 year of experience, you might get these opportunities. But with bigger companies, bigger projects, it becomes slowed down. Okay. But one senior person will be writing this wrapper project once, and that project will be committed into Git repository or this code repository, whichever you are using. Once that person commits it, the entire team is working, right? Everybody checks out that code into their local machine. This is how it works. You need to understand, coding a project is a teamwork. That is the first difference you will find. While you are doing just your trainings, it is one person who knows everything about application because you have coded it. But when you start working in the IT project, as part of that, there is always a team working. थोड़ा काम वो करेगा, थोड़ा काम ये करेगा. You have to put it together, merge it together, test it together. That's where it comes into a process map, which people don't have. And then you say like, okay, if I'm claiming gap as experience, then how do I do it? This is where people get confused. Now how do you commit? What should I commit? What should I not commit? यहाँ पे गड़बड़ हो जाती है. So spend some time in really using these tools, because whether you use Hibernate in your next project, not sure, but this process will be there. These tools will be there for sure. Okay? If you're in Java world, so just understand, practice tools, make it a daily way of working to commit code in repository. If you have 2 3 friends, साथ में मिलके कुछ projects बनाओ. GitHub के like free मिलेगा. some two free रहता है for some X number of users. You can create your accounts, okay, and just do it. For example, in my company we are using Bitbucket, very common, freely available रहता है for I think 0 to 10 users. So create a Bitbucket account, and whatever I am explaining, one person write that code, guys. Another thing, whatever is being committed उसको stable रखो. कंपाइलेशन एरर्स के साथ कमिट कर रहे हो, build is not happening, वो don't do it like that, okay? So successfully keep it stable in your machine, build it up nicely, and once it is compiling, once it is looking good, then only you commit the code. Because whatever, guys, this is important, everybody, fresher, experienced people, you need to know the value of this. If you are committing improper code in the repository, there would be a lot of branching model. We will not get into the branching model, but it's a serious discussion, okay? If you commit improper code, nothing but compilation error aa rahe, semicolon problem, ye problem, wo problem, or the application is not building, where is not happening, if those kind of thing is there, and if you commit it inside that repository, next day your entire team will be getting it, your problem will be faced by all the 10 people, and then they will catch your neck. "Okay, why did you commit this?" So be careful. If you're committing something, test it nicely, make it local, and do it for yourself, okay? Yes, yes, yes. So once ये सारा काम हो जा रहा है, okay, once all of this thing is done, and then you're committing it, so your senior will commit, others will pull. Now everybody starts building the application because the design has happened. There is one important thing I want to tell you, people. Many guys have confusion here about डॉक्यूमेंट्स, राइट? क्या डॉक्यूमेंट्स क्या होता है? एसआरएस डॉक्यूमेंट, एंड क्या क्या होते हैं यार डॉक्यूमेंट, लाइक यूएमएल डायग्राम्स, डीआरडीज, हाई लेवल डीआरडीज, लो लेवल डीआरडीज. You guys have heard about these names? Have you guys heard about all these names, like UML diagrams, class diagrams, and then database design, high level DRD, low level DRD, and then some blah 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 documents, right? Okay, so I just want to tell you people something. It was occupying a lot of time in the IT industry. That's where Agile has removed most of them. And I'm practically telling you, past 6 years, I have not really seen any detailed documents like this. But the projects are working, not just for my project, for many other projects. These documents are not available, and IT does not need these documents anymore. Okay, in bits and pieces, somewhere or the other you might have to put these diagrams in. So these diagrams have a value, but it is not mandatory. Don't complicate yourself कि ये क्या होता है, वो क्या होता है, guys. Nothing, it's all time waste. It was all there in the older methodologies of waterfall and all that, जो भी चलता था in old methodologies. Agile removed all this nonsense because it was time killing. किसी को समझता नहीं था, वो बनाने के लिए कोडिंग अलग, पीपल यूज टू स्पेंड टाइम इन दिस डॉक्यूमेंटेशन इटसेल्फ. फिर एप्लीकेशन कहां से बनेगा? This model will not work. Agile removed a lot of crap basically from the project building SDLC process. So now there will be some UML diagrams, class diagrams randomly at time will be required. Okay, class diagrams randomly at times will be required. Okay, but not always. Some people do it. Okay, service diagrams sometimes might be required. Okay, service diagram something might be required. Okay, fine, fine, fine. Now again, let's focus it back. This is what I'm talking about, practical industry experience. College में क्या पढ़ा रहे हैं, institutes में क्या पढ़ा रहे, doesn't matter. Past 6 years I have not worked on these documents. Very few cases में I just need to put some block diagrams, उसके लिए some tools will be available. Logically some flow diagrams बनाने पड़ेंगे at random times. Very few things, okay? Because that kind of investment in building diagrams is gone with Agile. It is more product oriented, like समझो, थोड़ा सा basic डालो, just code the application. Not detailed efforts are required, so don't complicate your life, because I have not seen it in the past 6 years. It depends, might be from project to project, but it's up to you basically. But don't over give value to these things. Agile has removed a lot of this nonsense. Fine. Now some basic will be required. Database ka bhi, it's not required to have a database fully connected wala. You can have your scripts. एक .sql file create करो, उसमें just give all your database के scripts. You can get that also reviewed. It's not required to have a diagrammatic representation of database before building it up. Okay, so sensible. Save your time. Whatever saves your time, IT is okay with that. Don't overcomplicate. Don't think IT कैसे काम करता है भाई. If you can work properly, IT can do the stuff automatically. ठीक है? Fine. So just understand that it's very important. ठीक है? Fine. Let's continue again. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's focus on the topic. Once the diagram things. So Agile has clarified a lot of this diagram preparation because time consuming hota tha. Many people used to not even understand ki kya hai, and but lot of time used to happen for building this up, and which was not really having a value. Okay, Agile removed all these things from the system. Now the next thing, abhi focus karte हैं guys, एक एक करके important. ठीक है, code आ गया in your machine, right? Because somebody else has created that wrapper, you checked out, now everybody is having the code in your machine. Two things will start happening right now. Okay, one is the developers will start with the development. The testers will start with writing the test cases. Both the processes should happen one by one in parallel. Okay, now both were clear. As part of the grooming session, developer was involved, the tester was involved. Both people know the requirement. If they have any doubts, they should get it clarified. ऐसा नहीं independent कुछ भी बना लोगे. They should get the doubts clarified. Now developer starts with the development journey, tester starts with the tester's journey. I'll not get in very details about the test cases, but they will write test cases. If this is the test scenario, what am I expecting detailed way mein, and how do I test this? If you're a QA person, you would know it better. Step by step, okay, this is a test scenario when the person is trying to log in for the first time with right credentials on this page. Then what should happen? Expectation is OTP page should be displayed. That's what you just write it, and step by step launch this website, go to this page, enter username, enter password, hit submit. This is your test case. Basically expected is he should be successfully logged in and OTP page should be displayed with a countdown timer of 5. That's the expectation from a successful test case. A QA people starts writing one by one all of this in an Excel sheet document. All the test cases will be done. QA job done. Now Abhi, both UI and the server, how will the server people and the UI guys work? The developers basically. Okay, important stuff. Firstly, you need to make sure IT may productivity has a lot of value. So you need to really understand if there is a dependency in people, that has to be worked on the highest priority, right? Yes or no? If there is dependencies people, for example, I see two people right now, like Pooja is there and Deepak Shank is there. Okay, so if Pooja and the Shank, one is a UI person, one is a server person. Okay, what is the common thing between them, guys? Yeah, what is the common thing between a UI and a server? UI guy is going to make an API call to the server. Nothing but server people will be writing a method which will be exposed via a REST endpoint, and the UI person is going to call that. That dependency is there. So first, IT may, if you want to have productive results, always prioritize dependent tasks first. Even though you know how to build the functionality, but that is the second priority. Your dependencies should be sorted first, then only you will get results in the IT industry. Always have this in mind. So the first thing which you should do is API contract finalization. Guys, you are fresher, your experience doesn't matter, this is how you should be while you are doing work. API contract finalization. Okay, now guys, क्या हो रहा है? Like some of you would be like, क्या हो रहा है, कैसे बनाते हैं अभी? I don't know much of UI. Let me tell you एक चीज. Okay, I don't know basically how you are practicing actual server application building in your classes or whatever work experience that you have, but let me tell you, it's a two separate world. UI world is a separate, server world is a separate. They don't exist in the same project or not even in the same repository. Okay, understand? UI work separate project, server work separate project. You will not find any HTML or CSS code being committed in the server repository. That model does not exist. Completely independent projects, code repositories independent, deployment independent, testing independent. Okay, that's how the projects are that different. Okay, how do you build it up? RESTful endpoints can be developed as part of server. ठीक है, Spring का Spring Boot applications or Spring MVC maybe endpoints will be exposed, which is going to be called by UI guy, which is a complete separate project. And the UI will be, guys, the way for building application on the server side. The way for building application in the server side, you have frameworks like Spring is there, a dominated framework these days. Okay, or like Struts was there earlier, but I think as a web framework, Spring is very common these days, guys. Okay, Hibernate is another framework. So the way there are frameworks on the server, there are frameworks on the UI. Two of the most popular one is a Angular framework, Angular. Okay, and the other one is like React JS. So these are very popularly being used, and nothing but for styling. If you are a stylist guy, UI person, I'm talking to you right now, then Bootstrap will be like for customizing or styling. Okay, design case, how should your UI be? So that is a Bootstrap framework available. So I want really to suggest the UI people, that is your domain. Natak mat karo. Okay, don't come and say I just know JavaScript, I just know uh, like Angular, I cannot build up HTML CSS. Abhi guys, do you want me to hire two people? By ek HTML CSS karega, ek JavaScript karega. Why don't you learn both things, please? Okay, and many people, I am interviewing so many guys in the market right now. Okay, I'm interviewing so many guys in the market right now, and people bolte hai bhai HTML CSS basic aata hai, but I know this. HTML CSS wali public bolti I don't know that. That's horrible. You're understanding how much of opportunities you will lose in your life if you're cutting down. So if you are UI, package it up, learn everything. Okay, now, so now what is happening, guys? Now just understand, get back to the topic of the developers. UI and the server. So UI project is separate, repository separate, project separate, server application repository project separate, and all. The common thing between the two is UI is going to make an endpoint call. Okay, for example, let's say youtube.com is my domain. Okay, right now we are live on youtube.com. So https colon slash slash youtube.com slash login slash, okay, something. Okay, so by that way you created an endpoint and uske andar username password aa gaya. That is nothing but defining the API contract. What should be my endpoint, what should be the name of my method which the UI is going to call, what should be the request parameters, what should be the response parameters. Okay, what should be this? So this is nothing but API contract finalization, and both the UI and the server people should sit together, agree upon, understand the requirement, and then talk to each other. Okay, this is how the API contract is going to be. Once that is freezed, then the server person can start working independently, the UI person can start working independently. Uske baad, yeah, even if they are in the same team working next to each other, but independent coding will happen between the two guys. So always understand this important factor. Now guys, how does it work? UI people, they might be ready, they want to test. Understand guys, be smart. There is a mocking related world. हम लोग क्या बोलेंगे? सर्वर बोलेंगे भाई आई एम डेवलपिंग राइट नाउ, आई कैनॉट डिप्लॉय इट ऑन सर्वर until my development is done. Yes or no? You are coding. UI बोलेगा भाई my work is completed, I am waiting on server. People do this nonsense in the IT industry. UI guy might say I am done with my login page, I want the server method deployed somewhere so that I can call it and test it. And you would be like, I'm still coding, man, what can I give? That's where you be smart enough. You need to tell back, or your lead needs to tell back to the UI, okay fine, the UI guy, the server person is still developing, the UI guys should mock the APIs. Nothing but they should have their own layer where they did some call and they get a dummy response successful. That's where contract एक बार freeze हो गया, they can build their entire application without being dependent on the server people. That is where contract is important. And don't keep changing the method naming or the request or the response structures. Keep it one time defined, and if you're changing anything, communicate it back to the UI, because they are building the entire application on the assumption that this is the API contract. Very important stuff, guys. Okay, very important stuff, guys. Okay, yes, yes, yes. Now continue, people. Next ahead. एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हो गया, दोनों को दे दिए. नाउ मूविंग ऑन फर्दर. ओके, UI बना रहा है अपना सिस्टम. नाउ सर्वर गाय इज डूइंग हिज ओन वर्क. ठीक है, नाउ द एप्लीकेशन स्टार्ट्स बिल्डिंग अप टुगेदर. उसके बाद there comes environments. Let's understand some environments funda. Okay, now there will be different environments, and practically 10 years in the industry, I've always seen that the environments are ubuntu, red hat, linux, बस वही चल रहा है, fedora उतना ही वही machines है. Okay, windows machine हार्डली एक दो प्रोजेक्ट में आई सॉ विंडोज, बट इट वाज नॉट फॉर डिप्लॉयमेंट, इट वाज फॉर एमएस एसक्यूएल सर्वर के लिए विंडोज मशीन रिक्वायर्ड था. बट अदरवाइज इट्स ऑलवेज अ उबुंटू बेस्ड वर्ल्ड विच इज डोमिनेटिंग इनटू द, आई थिंक, प्रोडक्शन तक. ठीक है. सेकेंड थिंग, ओके, there will be multiple environments from project to project. I'll give you the best case scenario, or what I have been using for many times. Okay, there is a development environment. Environment is nothing but यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा cloud को touch करते हैं guys. Everything is logical. People understand. Okay, now what has happened is the industry has evolved so much. Okay, earlier people used to maintain the infrastructure in their company environment itself. बहुत expensive होता था. RAM, this, that, बढ़ाना and all that. Lot of expensive things used to be there. वो सारा का सारा ना, people like AWS, Amazon, Microsoft का Azure product है. Google has Google Cloud platform coming up, and there are multiple service providers who has given cloud platforms ki bhai, you deploy your code on our infrastructure, which is very easy. You can add more RAM, you can increase the size, you can decrease the size, you can add more hard disk. We will take care of the maintenance. Guys, do you know how expensive these things are? Usko maintain karna bhi bahut secure hota hai, right? Like you will find data centers पानी के अंदर होते हैं somewhere in inside ocean. They have kept it so that it stays cool, calm. Okay, it should not be impacted by earthquakes. So that is where the data centers which they maintain should be scattered across different places, so that even if your data gets corrupt in one of the server due to anything, or earthquake हो गया, पूरा आग लग गई system में, still you can get your data. Now, these are big things, right? How can you maintain all such things? Earlier life was hell because of all this maintenance. Now with all of these services like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud platforms, three dominated ones in the market, this life has become easy. You pay some charges and they will take care of all of your headache. And that is where cloud services are really common in every project these days. You deploy it on cloud, AWS services, just go ahead and deploy it. Okay? And that's what, guys. Now generally what will happen is multiple environments will be created. For example, let's take basic, something which you might really be comfortable with. एक Linux box रहेगा. We will go to Amazon, let's say, for example, just giving Amazon, वहां पे there is something called as EC2 instance, some type of EC2. वहां से ले लो, pick up how much core you want, how much RAM you want. That machine will be taken, उसमें you install a Tomcat server. वो Tomcat server में deploy your web application. Simple way of doing it. If you know Spring Boot application, you don't need Tomcat. It has embedded Tomcat inside. Just go run it like a application. It will just host itself, right? Simple stuff. Okay, these are some basic things which you need to be aware of. So there will be a dev environment. There will be a QA environment. There will be a stage environment, and there will be a production environment. Best case I am talking about. ठीक है, बेस्ट केस. इससे मतलब ये मिल गया तो लाइफ में समझो लाइक पेरा पार हो गया, और कुछ नहीं चाहिए लाइफ में. 4 environments given: dev environment, QA environment, stage environment, and the prod environment. Okay, dev environment is for the developers. While the UI server and all that people are really working together, a developer can come, he can deploy his code on to the Tomcat server. The UI guys can then interact with that code via the API call and make it work. So you need to now know how do you connect to these cloud services, and how do you move your assets, how you do you deploy. That's where it will be very much required to know basic about Linux commands. So guys, thoda sa basic samjho how to connect. Now how to connect, if you're recording in a Windows machine, there are some tools called as Mobaxtum, or like WinSCP, or like Putty. These would be some softwares by which you can connect from your Windows machine to Ubuntu systems of AWS or Azure, anywhere, any infrastructure. बाकी सब हो जाता है. थोड़ा सा नेटवर्क गाय रहेगा. That's where DevOps role plays this role in setting up your connections and all. So don't worry, network का कोई तो बंदा रहेगा, उसको बोल देना भाई how do I connect it, give me the details, and he will guide you properly. Don't worry much about that, but somebody will help. These are in Windows. Ubuntu and Mac machines I have coded in, like Ubuntu also में code किया है. So guys, developer machine could be any machine. I know people who are coding in the Mac machine, people are coding in the Ubuntu machine, people are coding in the Windows machine. I've seen it all. ठीक है. but production system always stays Ubuntu. Now these people, Ubuntu and Mac ke andar there is direct connectivity. Command prompt is very good. By that you can connect, deploy and do whatever you want there. Okay? And yeah, it would be a black box, so be comfortable in the Linux commands. So now kya ho gaya? Server person developed his API, he deployed it on the system, and from there the APIs are exposed to the outer world. Nothing but now the UI person, even though he's doing the coding in his local machine, he can connect to your AWS instance, and from there he can talk to your service, and then he will be able to get the request and the response. Here I want to tell you there is a tool in the IT industry called as Postman. So you should use this tool, all the server guys. Okay, Postman tool may you can call your own API and test whether it's properly working. So your API, so guys, just if you don't know about it, just go use it right from today onwards. Whenever you write a method API, you use Postman, make a call, see the request, see the response, everything is good, and then you confirm to the UI person that the method is available. Go ahead testing it. Without testing, don't give it, because you will waste his time and your time. Understanding? Very good. Now fine. Now under back again. Yes, Postman. Okay. Now coming back here. Okay. The developers use it. Okay. Even though it is whatever. Yeah. The developer use this Postman. Yes. Okay. You call it like in my team, all the developers are comfortable with Postman. They do use it on a daily basis basically. Okay. It's very important. Fine. And then फिर UI वाला अपना काम करेगा, and then they will be like, okay, good, काम चल रहा है everything, चलो deploy. And then they commit the code and फिर आगे जाता है. Now let's understand what's happening. Few important things, guys. I'll just give the core today. I'll just wind up the entire session basically. Okay, understand few important things, how the further phase will happen. By that time the developers were completing their uh, dev environment related activity. Okay, by the time the developers were completing their development and all that, the testers are supposed to be ready with the complete test cases internally, guys. Now there are two processes. Okay, code review will happen internally, peer review will be there, lead review will be there. So that will happen at the development layer. Okay, now from the QA layer they will also do some internal test cases review with each other, so that instead of one person, two people are aware of it, and they would all be ready at the same time. Hey, we are ready for testing, and the UI is the server people are also, the developers are also ready for their work. Okay, now understand one thing. Now this is really important, but many companies, many projects do not follow this. Okay, writing unit test cases and writing QA automation testing, these are very mandatory. And if your project is having this, you should be lucky to really work on all these tools, because this will make your life very simple in a long run. I'll not spend more time here, but unit testing will save your life like anything once your application is growing. Similarly, QA automation will be huge value for you people. Huge value. QA automation system, so it is again coding. You have to do QA automation coding. Once these two things are there, so after the development is done, there is a proper time for these two things, where the QA automation code is also being written, where the unit testing code is also being written. So when there is enough time given, guys, it's like maybe 70%. If your coding is going to take 5 days, your unit testing might take 3 days or 4 days. ऐसे भी होता है, ठीक है? And but the value behind that is very huge. That's where some companies, some clients allow that double time also to happen. And if your project has that, very lucky enough, guys. If it is not there, your life will be having hell in a different manner. Production pay every time whenever you are doing a deployment, you have to do the entire sanity of the system manually. फिर उसमें if you have missed out any of the code, फिर something will break here and there, then you will get calls during late night, customer is facing this problem, that problem. That all is happening because unit testing is not properly applied, QA automation is not proper in the system. That is where it's impacting back on you people. So understand, huge value people. Fine, moving on further. So once these two layers are done, okay, then code review will be completed, automation wala completed. Now from the development environment, you have committed the entire code in Bitbucket or your cloud repository, right? Now CI/CD process comes in picture. तुम लोग बोलेंगे यार यार क्या खुलते जा रही है एक एक करके बुक. IT is a world. It's a world where many people survive. Okay, IT is a big world. There will be a CI/CD process continuous integration, continuous deployment done by DevOps team. Okay, but for smaller teams, this role will be performed by the developers itself. For bigger teams, there will be a dedicated DevOps resource hired for doing this activity. But for smaller teams, it's a developer's job. The UI people and the server people, you guys have to do it. I would highly recommend that you should know the process. क्या करना होता है? You should code on the QA environment should not be deployed from your local code. Very important, guys. These are blunders which people commit mistake in. Your local working copy wala code nahi jayega. If you want to do the QA environment ka deployment of your code, then you would just be checking out the code freshly from the bit bucket. Understand, step by step, very important. Apply this throughout your life without fail. If you want to give the code to any next stage, don't take your local code, because you might have something which is not committed and you might forget it to commit. Pura testing ho jayega, 100% sign off, but your code is not going to go to production. People have done these blunders. पूरा टेस्टिंग होता है, सब कुछ सही होता है, बाद में पता चलता है अरे कोड मैंने कमिट ही नहीं किया. People do these blunders. Don't do that. Okay, so that's where whenever you are giving to the next environment for testing, it should be collected from the repository bit bucket, from the central repository. Then using Maven, it should be built and then it should be deployed. Then you would be confident, okay, at least agar nahi gaya, so in the QA environment itself, your bug will be caught case something is not there. And then you would realize, yeah, I have not committed the code, let me commit it. Manual mistakes are possible. That's where process solves the problem here. Okay, so now that is continuous integration, continuous deployment. There will be some tools called as Jenkins. I'll just introduce the name many times. Okay, the DevOps uses a tools called as Jenkins, which connects to these repositories and the environments, and that pulls the code, builds the code, deploys the code, restarts services. Everything the Jenkins tool is very capable of generating. Okay, so understand all these facts. And code abhi QA environment mein chala gaya. Now the QA guys are doing the testing. Okay, simple. QA apna testing karega, and now already the test case was created. One by one it starts walking through. Agar kuch bug aaya, okay, how will the bug be done, guys? Again, the Jira tool which was there, I'm just rushing through it, but the recording will be available. You can revisit the recording back again, guys. Okay, the Jira tool which was used, the QA is going to log in into that Jira tool. They will create a bug. Jira tool mein hota hai, guys. You can Google it, how to create bug in Jira. You will find a video on that. Blog mil jayega, kuch bhi read it, you'll get it. Okay, they will create a bug and they will explain, okay, I was testing this, I was expecting this, but I got that. With screenshots, with proper messages, they will create it and they will assign it to the right developer. So if you are the developer, QA people already know that who has developed it. They assign that, and like fish market, nahi, they will not come and tell you. You should just log in into your Jira tool. You will find that, okay, so this is a bug on me. Somebody has just given it. Fine, let's me read it. Try to again, like what should be your approach? You check out your code, understand the bug, try to reproduce the bug in the dev environment. Important, your way of working whenever you get a bug is try to understand the bug ke hai ki nahi hai, or some case which is not valid. Once you do all that, then try to verify it in the dev environment, reproduce the same bug again. Whatever QA is saying, I did this, and then this came which is wrong, you try to do all the same things on the dev environment and see the results are wrong. Now this is where, guys, really be good in debugging. If you want to become great in IT industry, debugging is one of the things you need to really master. And debugging is finding the how to solve a particular problem. वहाँ पे log churning becomes very important. So that is where, guys, log4j, okay, or so this is like very commonly used for many projects for as a logging tool. So be really good. So be, how you should debug, guys, simple मैं बोलता हूँ. जैसे system.out.println लिखते हैं, right? While you're doing the project, you will like log4j.debug, warn, error, blah blah blah, ठीक है? Info, वो सब statements code में जाता है. Everything gets generated in a file on the Ubuntu system. You need to log in from your Windows machine, connect via Mobaxterm tool onto the Ubuntu machine, and then you need to know the basic Linux commands by which you can play around with these log files which are generated behind the screen. Two of the most commonly used is tail and grep. Tail command, grep command, there is a less command. These three commands are very commonly used for churning the logs. Okay, tail, grep and less. be comfortable with these commands. Log churning life will become simple, and churn the logs. This is called as log churning, finding what's wrong in the logs. So log churning karenge, and you have to run the use cases on the dev environment. Your code will execute and you will find the logs. फिर वो logs को you need to compare it with your code which you have written, and then like, okay, this log is line number 12. अच्छा, फिर ये data generate हुआ. And by this way you find out what the problem is. Guys, it's a technical problem. Don't get pressurized, don't get into tension कि भाई how do I solve it. Simple होता है. Logs देखो, code देखो, try to think what is the data coming, why it is behaving like this. Maybe if case might be missing, else case might be missing, कुछ तो गड़बड़ हो गई है. दोनों को टैली करो. समटाइम्स नल डेटा आ रहा है तो फाइंड आउट कि अरे नल कहाँ से आ रहा है, ये तो वैल्यू आनी चाहिए थी. You will get all those doubts when you start spending some time on the system. Okay, so by this way you would be becoming really comfortable in debugging. Then you'll find, acha maine yahan pe I have missed this thing. Then you will fix that, again commit it back on the bit bucket, and then that gets pulled up and again deployed onto the QA environment and given to the QA. Now the QA people are going to do the entire testing. Once they do the testing, they say like, oh, we are happy, now let's give the project to the next phase, which is the stage deployment. STAGE, stage deployment. Okay, now guys, what exactly happens as part of the stage is nothing but UAT, user acceptance testing. First of all, understand, okay, stage environment is completely a replica of prod environment, but it is open internally to the customers. Nothing but बाहर की दुनिया को अभी तक open नहीं किया. It is internally open. It is a replica basically, where the UAT, nothing but the clients or the product guys or the seniors, before opening it to the live customers, they want to internally test and be sure हाँ सब सही जा रहा है. Because the more you test, the more you will sure be about the quality of the system. So that UAT process will happen on the stage environment. Usme bhi bugs aa sakte hain. That's where, guys, we are trying to remove as maximum bugs so that when we go to the production environment, there everything is clean. So developer first of all try to develop rock solid. Still we want QA because developer might miss out something. We have QA, they are trying to find bug. Still we have UAT because UAT person might find some other bugs. Multiple people involved for rock soliding the quality of the system. And once these all people say yes, now take the project into production, now you would be actually like, okay, happy, chalo, build the application, deploy it on the production, restart it, and then give it back to the customers. Okay, so this is the approach which people will be following while they are doing the application release process as well. And there is a lot of some Jira ke andar all these ticket movements will be there, like this user story is moved from development to QA, from QA to UAT, UAT is ready for UA production, and then finally released. So by that way there will be a Jira tracking also happening. Kanban boards will be there, Scrum boards will be there. If you are really into agile, guys, you can go and get agile training. वहां पे ये सब पता चल जाएगा चीजें. ठीक है. So finally, yeah, eventually everything will be deployed in production, and there is the next part to it as well. अभी production में गड़बड़ हो गया, वहां पे production support team रहेगा, prod support team, and उनका काम basically is like if something goes wrong in production, so we need to really fix it as soon as possible. Just understand these important things, guys. There is a terminology called as heartbeat. Okay, there is a terminology called as heartbeat of production system. Nothing but you need to monitor, okay, how much of the CPU is being consumed, how much of the RAM is being consumed, how much of the disk size is being consumed. Some monitoring parameters will be applied on your system. Nothing but, guys, code to chal raha hai, but if it starts running 100% CPU, that means your project will not run. Something might happen, somebody has just written a infinite loop, the CPU is not coming out of it, infinite loop mein chala gaya. So all the customers will face problem with that, right? So in such cases there are some tools called as Kibana. Launching names, this is what the IT industry is. There is a tool called as Kibana, and this Kibana tool can really monitor the health of your application. In AWS you can monitor the health of the application. You can inject some parameters saying if my CPU runs, there is tool called as Zabbix. Zabbix is another tool which is for this health monitoring, which where you can configure. If my server CPU runs 180%, raise me an email or a mobile SMS so that I get informed like so and so node is misbehaving, running with a 80% CPU, so that I just log in and fix what's the problem is. Because we need to be proactive before the system collapses, you should be able to act. Similarly, if your RAM is high, if your disk space is high, you would like to get alerts so that you can fix the problem. So real time monitoring will be happening, nothing but this is called as health check of your application. Very important stuff in the prod environment. Okay, and just understand all that. These days microservices is very commonly being used. I would really encourage you people to understand the concepts of microservices, how it is used, why it is used, and proper, ठीक है, थोड़ा सा माइक्रो सर्विस बनाते भी कैसे है, why is it so valuable, and some advantages with that, ठीक है, understand. It would be very value add for your career. Okay, and spring boot के ऊपर हाथ पैर मार लो, that's also very much required in the current times. It will give you really nice edge. And देयर इज फ्यू मोर थिंग्स, बोलने को बहुत कुछ है, ठीक है। बोलने को बहुत कुछ है, बट या इट्स अ ब्यूटीफुल आईटी इंडस्ट्री। यू हैव टू लर्न, अप्लाई एंड गेट द मैक्सिमम आउट ऑफ इट, ठीक है। अभी डॉकर चल रहा है, क्यूबरनेटिस चल रहा है, लॉट ऑफ एक्सप्लोरिंग हैपनिंग टुवर्ड्स दैट। ओके, एंड things will evolve. Load testing hota hai, where there are some tools called as JMeter, by which you put load testing on your system. Then there is a concept called as security testing. There are some tools available like Fortify scanners, which is going to scan your entire project code and they will find any security related glitches. Okay, then there is some tool called as Sonar. Okay, Sonar Lint, Sonar Cube. With this tool, whatever coding you are doing, the tool will scan the entire code and say what is as per standard, what is not as per standard. तो market बहुत evolve हो गया है, it's past 20 years से market बहुत evolve हो गया है guys, ठीक है। Different project, different places, different situations, these things will be applied, not applied, it depends on projects to projects. But an ideal project will be where all of these things are very beautifully set up. But as a beginner of the IT industry, let me tell you, 20 साल लगे to get to this point. Don't get under pressure, अरे मेरे को ये नहीं आता, मेरे को वो नहीं आता. It's not expected for you to know. It is all which you should learn in the next 6 years, 7 years of your life, step by step. So as an outcome of this session, you don't take away with you, baap re itna kuch hai karne ko. No, 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 no. That you will learn over the next period of 5 years, 7 years. Time ke sath सीखोगे. I want you people to be aware of the entire way of working of the industry, so that you can plan your career, you can understand, okay, what is happening right now, where it is happening right now, what am I supposed to do right now. A clarity of thought will come to you people. That is where I'm trying to provide as maximum things to you people. Okay, that's where I'm providing as maximum things to you people. Don't take the pressure of this. धीरे धीरे सीखोगे. I have learned it over a period of my 10 years, and अभी भी मेरे projects में all of these things are not full fledged applied. Step by step चलता है. Okay, perf is nothing but people call it for performance. Okay, short form बोलते हैं perf parameters, performance parameters. It's a terminology. Akshay is saying given when then. This is a pattern of writing test cases. Given when then, like given a user is doing so, when he clicks on the login, then what is supposed to happen. The user story, the requirement can be given in very clarity when you're writing given when then. Kuldeep is saying tension हो गया मेरे भाई, tension मतलब कुछ नहीं होता है. Uh, it is with time you would learn all these things. And yes, IT industry is like this. Okay, and all of this is good. Okay, Akshay is saying, heard this name. Yeah, there will be many terminologies, many tools. This will keep coming. Akshay is again saying Spring MVC, Spring Boot, web services, microservices. These are some very popular things to do these days. Okay. Okay. And then who is this guy? Like Java developer should, how should Java developer should progress in life? Simple guys, start with web services, microservices. देखो Java का basic core Java में very strong. Next Spring में very strong, ठीक है. And as a Java person, once this is done, standards पे काम करो, design pattern, microservices. Second, go into the database related area. The DB designing, DB performance parameters very good. उसके आगे फिर architecting वाला काम आता है. So Java बंदों के लिए career goes like this, ठीक है? So be good in the server, be good in the database, उसके बाद get good in the architecting related thing, that would be your career, ठीक है? And Bhanu Prasad, yes, thank you. I'm trying to give my best as well, ठीक है? Storyboard, nothing. Jira में use करते हो, तो when you are learning a Scrum somewhere, so as part of that, you will find there is a some called a Scrum board बोलते हैं. It's not a story board basically. It's called as a Scrum board or a Kanban board. उसके ऊपर stories will be available. ठीक है? Pawan, please upload. Yeah, this video will be available, guys. You guys can walk through it again. The video will definitely be available because I want to share this knowledge so you guys can invite more and more people available here. ठीक है? And then Kuldeep, yeah, fine. Okay, and Nigar Fatima is saying, what is Jira? देखो point is, and just putting it in simple terms, you guys are all doing coding. किसके लिए coding कर रहे हो? Like you guys are doing coding for whom? You are building application for whom? Okay, you are building application for the customers, for the business, and now business wants to know what is happening in the application. Simple. There is a 10-member team size, वो कुछ तो काम कर रहे हैं. अभी business is client, they want to know what is the team doing right now. Okay, how would they know? There has to be a system. Will you people call them every day and tell कि I'm working on this, I'm working on this? Not possible. That's where you will use the tool called as Jira, where you will be explaining, creating a task. Hey, my task is right now in the dev phase, matlab development is happening on this. Then this task will be moved into like login related task. This task will be moved into the QA bracket, and that will tell on the Jira toolkit it is in QA. Okay, and by that way the business will be logging in there, and that would be a clear cut clarity available. That's where Jira kind of tool is available. Kuldeep, when is the next session? Dekho guys, the sessions are not really that planned ki when to do what. I just come random times. Okay, I am doing a life transformation session which I keep doing it because guys, IT industry and all these things I'm telling guys, 10 years of industry experience, pressure hota hai. Okay, IT mein there is pressure, there is tension if you really want to do great work, and uske liye peace of mind is required. ठीक है? And that is where I figured out ki bhai, if you really want to be successful in life, there are some other things which you should know about how the human brain thinks, how you should think, what should be your attitude, and all of that. Like guys, I've just bundled into a package called as life transformation, कि by how you should be as a person, कि your entire life is successful, and then IT or any your work that you do is a subset of this. Okay, so I do those kind of sessions. The next IT session when it will happen, I will keep it updated as part of the events group. So WhatsApp group mein you might be available, events hai and events 2 wala group mein isme I'll be doing more of these things. Okay, and then Akshay, अरे अक्षय तू बहुत बोलता है. Come for morning 5 a.m. sessions, उसके बाद we'll answer all these things. ठीक है अक्षय, come there. Fine, moving next. Nowadays uh, die my leaf is taking place for JSP. Try to learn. Fine. Nigar Fatima, is it necessary to learn React Angular for Java? We already answered this question, right? Start with Java nicely. Don't even touch the UI for next 2 years. Don't care about UI at all for next 2 years. Just know Java, just work with Java, and once you are 2 3 years of experience, then go to the UI world. It's not required to know. Okay, fine. So everybody all good? Thank you all for your time. Make the most of it. Okay, make the most of it and convert everything that we spoke into practical roadmap for your future career to go. And this is how you should work. I know there is a lot to explore about each and every topic that we said, but let's make the most of life, people. Life is amazing, it's beautiful. IT mein paisa milega, there will be position, there will be power. You need to grow. Okay, so grow and welcome to the industry. Thank you all, and whenever we do next, I'll keep it updated in the teams group. If you get a chance, join as part of life transformation, and it would really be beneficial to change your life altogether around. Thank you all. Take care of yourself. Bye bye. Thank you all.